And now let's bring in Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter, who will be at today's hearing. Sir, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
What do you think is the most important question that needs to be answered today?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of questions about Section 230 and about whether it should be removed or not. This is going to be the first time that we've heard from Google. Now, we have had Facebook and Twitter before us in this committee, and we've talked to them before. And I have to tell you, I'm deeply disappointed because I made it clear at the last hearing, and a number of us did, that, look, we don't want to have to regulate you guys. I don't want to stifle innovation. But if you don't clear this up, we're going to have to. And it seems to have gone in one ear and out the other because they haven't cleared it up. I think we're going to have questions about censorship. I think we're going to have questions about illicit use of these platforms. There'll be questions about mental health. I have a special interest in that because I think there's a big problem with particularly our students in the realm of mental health right now.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a big tug of war between Republicans and Democrats because Democrats are going to want to focus on misinformation. Republicans, the opposite, talking about the concern of censorship. And I just wonder how we got here, because when social media platforms first started, they weren't the arbiters of truth. They just took down the obvious things, violent content, pornographic content. And now, we've heard from doctors who have spoke to Congress people before, and their videos have been removed from platforms like YouTube. So you have to wonder why that information is good enough for members of Congress, but the American people can't hear it.
Well, it is. And, we want to know, and particularly in the way of censorship, what their policies are and how they're being implemented and how the different policies are being implemented among the different platforms. We need some consistency here. There's no question about it. But more so, we need transparency.
Yeah. Is it fair to ask a question about what's going on at the border and whether or not, a coordination on social media might have anything to do with that? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as, I guess, a question that I might have.
No, I think that's an excellent point, and I can assure you that question is going to be asked. We are going to be interested in how these different groups are using these platforms and what they're doing that is going to impact what is obviously, as former Speaker Gingrich has called it, a disaster now. It is past being just a crisis. It is a disaster. But we know that these platforms are being used by these different groups, and we know they're being used at the border. And that's going to be a big question. And I think there's going to be a lot of focus on that.
Well, there was a big debate yesterday on Capitol Hill over the For the People's Act, which would dramatically change election law. Let's take a listen to the two leaders of the Senate duke it out.
Shame, shame, shame. I would like to ask my Republican colleagues, why are you so afraid of democracy?
If anybody ought to be feeling any shame around here, it's turning the FEC into a partisan prosecutor to harass and intimidate the other side.
Okay, so someone should be ashamed of themselves, and this bill would federalize election law, taking away rights from the states. It would also dramatically increase mail-in voting. Your branch of Congress passed it. Now it's heading on over to the Senate.
Well, I didn't pass it. It was passed in a partisan fashion. There's no question about that. But look, this is not for the people. This is for the politicians. There's no question about it. You're going to take taxpayers' money and give it to politicians to be used in political campaigns. Our Constitution is perfectly clear that it is up to the state legislatures to run the election processes in the different states. The federal government needs to stay out of it. There's no question about that. This is one of the worst pieces of legislation that I've ever seen. It will lead to mass chaos, and it will ruin our election system. There's no question about it. The state of Georgia right now, as we speak, is still in session, and they're addressing this as they should be, because it is the responsibility of the state legislatures. And as I say, it's perfectly clear in our Constitution.
Okay. Congressman Buddy Carter, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're going to have a long day, but we appreciate it. Yeah. Have a good one.